We're going to hear about a couple of the different grant programs. David's going to kick us off sharing about the foundation grants.
Okay, so Arbitrum Foundation Grants Program, there's plenty of different grants programs in the ecosystem. So I'm just going to be talking about the foundations one. I think there's after us, like other people talking about the rest. So basically the Foundation Grants Program is aimed at supporting innovation in the Arbitrum ecosystem. And what you should know is that we focus on founders, teams building at the application layer, meaning that if you're an infrastructure provider, then you don't fit for these grants programs, and you should go like into one of my colleagues in the ecosystem. And so essentially, the sweet spot for us is if you are in your late stage development phase, let's say testnet, and we want to support you with launching on Arbitrum and those initial steps in your growth journey in the ecosystem. Grants amounts, I would say it's between 20K and 150K in ARP tokens. Funding is a grants-based milestone, which means that every time you hit the milestones, you can come back at us, you prove that you hit that milestones, and then you can claim it. And then besides funding, we're also supporting grantees with partnerships, introductions, marketing, and we're exploring also other areas, like at the moment with the audit program. And so if there's someone who's building an app, who's interested in the program also, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to be in the Orbit track, but I'm also available to talk about grants. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Faye. I'm from CDGov. We are delegates in the Arbitrum DAO and also participate in several initiatives across the DAO. So to keep this brief, I think it's very straightforward. There is a program that was proposed by Questbook, and it's implemented by the DAO and some contributors, in which we are providing and allocating grants across these domains. So if you are working in some ideas or some proposals in the gaming or development tooling or program ideas or community events education, you might fall within these domains. So regarding the grant size, we have a soft cap of 25K USD. So there is a reviewer for each domain, and you need to have only one approval. But if you want to receive a little bit more, you need 2 approvals from the domain allocators. We, from CDGov, are the domain allocators for the community, education, and events. But you can chat also with the other reviewers. If you want to learn more, there is the link, Questbook app. It's very simple, and each of them has their own criteria and their own templates, so you can find more there. So yeah, that's basically it.
Hello everyone, I'm Finn. I work on the governance team at Aretta, and I'm also a grants lead with the Uniswap Arbitrum Grant Program. So what the Uniswap Arbitrum Grant Program is we took the Arbitrum airdrop that was given to the Uniswap protocol, and they were looking for creative and meaningful ways to use that airdrop. We proposed the Uniswap Arbitrum Grant Program, which is a cross-ecosystem grant program, obviously, as the name suggests, between the Uniswap and Arbitrum ecosystems. So what we do is we focus on strengthening, our objective is strengthening the ties between the 2 ecosystems. So in practice, that looks like funding projects that are basically building at the intersection. So that can mean a lot of different things. Diving into it, the program was launched in November of 2023. And since then, we've seen 140 applications. We've allocated a million in funding, and it rolls on a first-come, first-served basis. So basically, there's an incentive to apply early. There's about 460K in remaining budget for projects, and we look to fund between 20 and 200K in grant sizes. Our average grant size is a bit closer to 90K. On the right side of the screen, you can see our RFPs. So obviously, some of those are a little bit closer to what you'd think of as in the Arbitrum vertical on the testnet. Otherwise, the Uniswap the V4, a little bit more focused on the Uniswap. But I would emphasize that our focus is really looking at projects that are building for value for both of the ecosystems. So to give a little bit of a sense of the projects that we funded so far, and to ground maybe your understanding and see if your applications are maybe applicable or an idea that you have, these are the grants that we funded to date. We funded 12 grants, and I think 4 of them now have fully completed, so we have about 8 active grants still building towards their final milestones. And yeah, I mean, if you have any ideas or any thoughts or topics or potential projects that are interested in maybe fit this build, that are building and routing volume through Uniswap and also working on Arbitrum, feel free to reach out to me at any point. I don't have a corner, but I'll be around here somewhere.
So the Think Arbitrum program is what we merged with Plurality Labs, which put in a proposal for a first grants program. We're actually going to do the first one originally with Questbook, but they had such a good established program, and what we were looking to do was experiment. But we brought the idea that we should have a pluralistic grants program, that there shouldn't be one organization that's in charge of releasing funds, which are the governance and the power in the DAO, that there should be multiple, many. And it was an important step at the beginning for us to say, well, we shouldn't be the ones then releasing funds to Questbook. You should apply separately straight to the DAO because you're an established program that knows what you do. What we're hoping to do is fund programs that then we can iterate and scale over time, that can fund specific things. And the reason is that the way you fund, a developer with liquidity incentives versus development incentives versus the way you fund DAO operations or a service provider or open source infrastructure or funding your open source dependencies are all different. And if you take different ways we give out grants in the ecosystem in Web3, you see things like Gitcoin where people say, oh, that's a cool thing, I like participating. But the quadratic funding model is very good for sourcing new grants, involving the whole ecosystem. It's not good for doubling down on things that work. You need a different mechanism for the next phase. So in our milestone 1B, we have 8 programs we've now selected for this next milestone, and we've moved a lot of it away from us just making decisions to decentralized review of everything. We had tons of reviewers from the Arbitrum ecosystem come forward based on enough people reviewing at the right level through our rubrics. These programs were selected, and each one focuses on one of our grant ecosystem innovation needs, which include geographic and perspective diversity and servicing an Arbitrum need. So each program specifically services an Arbitrum need and has an innovative mechanism being tested against that need. And if they're great, then they would go on to apply direct to the DAO themselves for iterative improvement. So I put the link in the chat if you want to look and see about all the programs, because that wouldn't all fit on a slide.
Okay.